to True Vine Talks with Rachel and Linda on this Saturday morning, December 7th. We are glad that you are joining us to listen to, some things that we've learned along the way. And today's topic is going to be how to talk to your teenager. Ooh! Yeah. So, Rachel, do you want to share a little bit of your experience, in your workplace and how you know so much about it?
Yeah, so I've been working with children and teens for about 4 years now. The majority of my experience has been with at-risk youth in a detention setting. So they're definitely not fully trusting of adults. They're very suspicious, very doubtful, and they're very used to being independent. So anytime you try to, correct their behavior or suggest they follow a rule, it's very common to get some backlash. So there's some tips that we'll give to parents about, working with teens, talking to them, listening to them. That's a huge one. If you can show your teen that you're listening, you're hearing them out, that means so much to them. So many times I hear teens say, "Nobody listens to me." Like it's very frustrating to them.
Oh yeah. Teenagers are, Rachel's right. Your teen wants you to sit down and just listen and not, parent them sometimes. So that's a hard thing to navigate as a parent of a teenager, is being a good listener and also setting some limits in their life. It can be a real challenge. So when we talk about the teenage brain, there's a lot more differences between the adult brain and the teenage brain, and that's an important part to think about as you're engaging teenagers. So what's going on in the brain that's not fully, and we're not getting into technical stuff because I'm not real smart in that area of the brain, but just a little touch of it. But what part of the brain, Rachel, is, and we talked about a few minutes ago, is not fully developed in the teen brain?
Right. This area right behind the forehead. It's the prefrontal cortex, and this is the area of the brain that's responsible for things like decision making, morals, weighing out pros and cons, problem solving, all those things that you really need to make good life choices. So if you're ever sat at home and wondered, why is my teenager making these stupid decisions and getting themselves in trouble, that could be part of it.
Yeah, I don't know. And sometimes I think we forget, you're much young, and so you probably remember teenage years a little more than I do. I'm 40 now. So when I think back to my teen years, I just was in the moment. And anytime I felt passion or love or excitement, I just embraced it. I liked novelty. I enjoyed meeting people. I wanted to, go fast down the road. And I was a girl. Yeah. I was sort of, a little different because I liked a little bit of speed in my life and adventure. And
it's all about having fun. That immediate gratification.
Yes. You recall some of that for yourself?
Or? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I did. I just thought it was a ball of fun to just, do stupid things and see how people would respond. That's what, I'd be like, what if I get on this ladder here and climb up. Now, I don't remember what it was. It was some type of gate around, I don't advise anybody to do this, a gate around something you weren't supposed to be on. Oh. And to make my girlfriends laugh, because we were majorettes and practice, is like, what happens if I climb this gate, girls? And I jumped over that gate and I was like, man, wonder if that was an electrical protective device.
Typical teen, yeah.
Yes. And
what if?
Not all laughing.
Not through too much.
They were all laughing like, Linda, you do the most random things. So I was like, yeah, I just like seeing my peers laugh. And so, I know that you guys have done some things that maybe your teens are doing now, and you scratch your head and say, what are they thinking? And, if you think back, you probably made some crazy choices as a teenager yourself. Mm-hmm. Because that part of your brain wasn't developed.
Yeah, and it doesn't develop until the mid-20s.
Correct.
24, 25.
Yeah.
So they've got a while before that's going to kick in.
Yeah.
And start helping them out.
Yeah. So,
yeah. So how can parents, this is what we're going to get into today, how can, parents, teachers, coaches, anyone that works with teenagers have a successful conversation about making better choices with a teenager?
Yeah, keeping in mind that they're living in the moment, they're hearing you, and they're also not listening to you. They're hearing what you're saying, and that they know what you're saying. Oh, they must care. They're what they're saying is true. I wonder what my friends really think about that. So they're always processing on, what do my peers, my teenage friends, think about this?
Yeah, because developmentally, if we kind of briefly, there's a lot to go over with this topic that I didn't think about beforehand.
Because you and I do
Yeah,
this.
So the stage of development that teenagers are in, every stage of life we have something that's most important to us. So during, young childhood, when you're a toddler in elementary school, it's your parents. Parents are most important to you. When you transition to adolescence, those teenage years, it's your peer group. Your friends are the most important thing to you. They are what you're always thinking about, who you're trying to impress. Yeah.
So the decision making is very other based.
Yes. How is this going to make me look to my peers?
Yeah.
Will they like me if I say this, dress like this, act like this?
Yeah.
It's all about acceptance with same age others.
Exactly. Very well stated, Rachel. Yeah. So keeping in mind that, when you are talking to your teen, that they are thinking, they're hearing you, but they're not hearing you. You got to keep that in mind. Mm-hmm. So, a strategy I like to use with teens is, using that open-ended kind of question. So, what do you guys think about this? So you kind of defer in the power a little bit, and trying to get them to sort of, because, I work in the group home, and I work with teens, and in working with them, I sort of let them collaborate together to come to a good decision.
Ooh, group think with teens.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. So when you're working with your individual teen as a parent, you might say, so what do your friends think about that?
I like that question.
And then they look at you like, well, they think this is a good idea. Really? Have you asked them? Are they doing that too? Are they making Fs on the report card? Are your friends making Fs? And look at you like, well, yeah, I think so. Oh, did you ask them? I'm just curious.
They all are, or just one?
Yeah. See, you get them thinking about, because they're so focused on what their peers are doing. It's like, well, if they're making a decision that's probably not in their best interest, you got to appeal to the interest of the others. What are the other kids doing? Are they sitting at home playing Xbox 12 hours a day? And that may be true. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what are the peers that are being successful doing? Oh, those peers are, they're active, they're doing their homework, they're in the honorary role. I call it the honorary roll.
Honorary roll.
So I try to get, because I have a teenage son, I try to get him to think about what's the successful teens in your class doing.
Yeah.
Because they're not very future oriented. A lot of times parents get into this whole, and I've done it too.
It's easy to do.
Oh yeah, well, what are you going to be when you grow up?
Mm-hmm.
Well, how much money do you want? What kind of house do you want to live in? What kind of car do you want to drive? Oh, those are all good questions. They're in the here and now, which is a beautiful thing. Because we adults need to live in the here and now. You know? So we got to be mindful that when we're talking to a teenager, they're in the present moment. They're not thinking about their future. So when you're trying to think about their future for them, keep in mind they're not there yet.
Yeah.
Are they?
No. They're not even at, next week.
No!
I've struggled with that with teenagers. If they have a really serious fight with a friend on, a Friday, and they're just, their life is ruined, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm concerned about them going back to school on Monday and having to face this kid.
Mm-hmm.
They can't even picture Monday. They're just glad it's the weekend and they don't have to deal with it for a few days. So they are super, just right now.
Yeah. Present process. Which is a beautiful thing for the type of therapy we do. Isn't it? Yeah. Because they're like, oh my gosh, when you got in that fight, what were you feeling? What are you feeling right now as you think about it? So it's very present mindfulness. And where do you feel that in your body? And what do you want to do right now? Do you want to fight this person? Do you want to run from this person? What emotions are coming up for you? What's your unmet need? All those good questions. So, yeah.
So we want to focus on what are their friends doing?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What else can we do? How can we show teens that we're listening to them?
How do you do it, Rachel?
I don't interrupt them. That's
Check.
number one. Don't interrupt them. Don't cut them off.
Yeah, don't interrupt them.
Even if they're talking,
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Linda's writing this up on the board, so I was reading. She's just writing what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So we don't repeat ourselves. That's smart. Don't interrupt them, even if they're saying something that's way, they're supporting some kind of reason why they shouldn't follow this rule that you really want and need them to follow. Just hear them out. Let them say their piece, all right? That's going to mean so much to them because you sat there and you listened to their side.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. So how to let your teen know you're listening. We call it parroting in counseling. And, I know that you're all, listeners are like, well, I don't want to get trained in counseling. Oh, you don't have to get trained in counseling, but you also need to understand what active listening means. So an active listener will parrot back. The word is parrot, P-A-R-R-O-T-T, I guess it's spelled that way. But when I'm parroting back what you're saying to me, so let's do that, Rachel. Okay. Be a teenager and say something.
I just don't understand why I would have to get my phone taken away for going to bed late. I mean, I stayed up 3 more hours than I was supposed to, but I had to wait to take a shower, and then I had to dry my hair, and then I was hungry, so I had to get a snack, and I just don't think it's fair. It's not right. I should get to have my phone.
You don't think it's fair that you don't have your phone?
No, I don't.
And you're angry about it.
Yeah, I am.
You have a right to be angry.
Yeah. Because my friend, snuck out of their house a couple nights ago and the cops had to bring them back, and she still has her phone. At least I'm not doing that.
You're right. Good choice on your part. I'm glad you don't choose to run away. That's crazy. She should totally be grounded.
Yeah.
For life. Do you think?
She won't be.
She won't be?
No. Her parents are cool.
They do sound kind of cool. And if I'm the mom talking to you, I'm going to say, and I really care about you. I really care that you get some rest.
Yeah.
See those bags under your eyes? That worries me because I'm your mom and I love you. And I get that you're angry and I get that you're frustrated. You have a right to feel those things. I know you want to be on your phone talking to your friends at night. That's a great thing. I'm glad you have friends. And I know that you need sleep as your mom. How's that land on you as a teen?
I think they would listen. I think they would probably tell you, "Oh, I don't need that much sleep. I wish you didn't care as much," or something.
Okay, so let's process that.
Okay,
okay, say it.
I don't need that much sleep. Like I just need like 4 or 5 hours of sleep. I'll be fine. I can take a nap after school if I'm tired. And
all right, I'll make a deal with you. How about this? As your mom, I want you to get more rest, and I want to set a boundary with your time. But you're telling me you could operate on 4 hours of sleep. Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So for the next week, 7 days, I'm going to let you choose to sleep as little as you want to. But at the end of the 7 days, I want you to describe to me how you're feeling, and let's check your grades and see how you're doing. And if you navigate it, you're good to go. If you can't, then let's reassess and probably take away your phone at a certain hour.
So I can have my phone back?
Sure. You want to try that?
Yeah.
I'm going to give you that choice, and you're going to... So tell me back what I just shared with you.
I get to go to bed whenever I want, and I get my phone back.
For how many days?
A week.
And what's going to happen if you can't function?
Then I get my phone taken away.
Yeah. And what's going to indicate to your mom that you can function on 4 hours of sleep? What's going to be the indications?
My grades.
And how tired you are.
Oh, if I'm tired. Okay.
Yeah.
My grades and if I'm tired.
Like if you got bags and dark circles.
I always have these. That's why I wear makeup.
So how will we know if you're tired or not? Because you can't take naps. You don't have time with your sports and all your other stuff. Tell me how we know if you're tired. Fall asleep in class.
I guess if I choose to go to bed earlier.
Okay. So you might choose to go to bed earlier during this week
tired.
of only sleeping 4 hours a night? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see how you do. Is that a deal?
Yeah.
Cool. Let's do that. So, do you see how we just did? Rachel and I just sort of modeled a collaborative encounter. I do this with my teenager. Okay, so you say that you can sit on your phone and FaceTime and Snapchat everybody, till midnight. Let's see if you can get up the next day and still function. If you can do that, okay, that's your choice. How you feel is a natural consequence.
Choices are powerful with teens because they think they're invincible and they can do whatever they want. But this kid's going to be tired if they're only getting 4 hours every day because teenagers need more sleep than adults do.
Yeah. Now, if your kid is a martyr and they're stubborn and they want to prove to you they can do it, and you see them slipping as a parent, what's your job to do?
Point it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be like, look, you're barely functioning, man. You're going to fall asleep in class or whatever. So, you give them that choice. You give them the 7 days. You let them try to figure it out. And 9 times out of 10, this has been my experience as a mom of a teen. They come back and say, you know what, Mom? You're right. I'm not.
And you're like, can you say that again? I'm sorry.
That's not always. But, I've built this relationship over, how old is he? 15 years. So, you've got this collaborative relationship where I'm trusting you with your own physical and mental health. You show me that you can do this. So, How do you like that, Rachel?
I like choices are so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can, I always learned that there was like 3 ways to parent. You can give demands, you can give choices, or you can let them do whatever they want.
You can
be passive. Yeah,
Boundary
demands,
lists.
choices are completely passive.
Yeah.
So choices is the way to go. And if you
With a teenager.
Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah. We call it love and limits.
Mm-hmm.
Love and limits. It's the boundaries with Cloud and Townsend. Boundaries with teens is I'm going to give you love and I'm going to give you limits. The limits are because I love you.
Yep.
Yeah. And giving you that power because teens want power and autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
Feel independent and powerful. We want to make sure that the natural consequences take care of a lot of these problems.
Yeah. And that example that we just did, that role play, for some people might seem like, oh, well, you gave them back their phone and you're just letting them have whatever they want. That's not a choice, but it is. Because at the end of that week, they're going to be tired. They're going to have probably one of the roughest, hardest weeks of their life.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're going to forget. They're going to be forgetful.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not going to turn in a homework assignment.
Nope.
And as a parent, you're probably like, oh, but I want them to do good. But teens have to learn by experience a lot of the time. They will not take your word for it 100% of the time.
And what's the hardest thing for a parent to do?
Letting go.
Let their kid
and
fall.
letting them fall.
Oh, yeah.
They need to fall and figure it out sometimes.
Yes.
But you've created a safe way for them to do that. You're only giving them a week. You're not giving them a month.
No.
It's like a week. We got 7 days
Yeah.
to see if we can do this.
Yeah.
And there's a consequence if they can't. The phone gets taken away at a certain hour every night if they're not able to do this.
Yeah. So listening to your teen is very important because you're trying to find out. You guys are exploring what's going on. What's happening for you. You are angry. What are you angry about? And then you shared. Well, I'm angry because I want to be on my phone at night talking to my friends. So you're listening. You're reflecting what they're sharing with you back to them. That's called active listening. And you're trying to find out what is it they want and need. Well, 9 times out of 10, it's power and autonomy.
Yes. They want to feel independent. They know, even though they're not future oriented, they know that someday they're going to be an adult and they're going to be on their own, and they cannot wait for that moment, and they want it now.
Yeah.
So
yes.
That's what the power and autonomy. They want to be in control of their decisions and their life and be left alone. But they can't be because they're still kids.
Yeah. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah. So it's a very delicate balance.
It is of love and limits.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. But they know you care about them. But they're pushing back. I mean, and because I am a mom of a teen son, it's like there's this nurturing part of the mother who wants to move in and just sort of, oh, let me help you. Oh, you're my baby.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do all these things. I want to cook for you, and I want to clean for you, and I want to get your clothes, and it's like, and I feel him push back, right? He's like, Mom, I can do this myself. So there's he's trying to say, I'm trying to break off this connection with you, Mom. Mm-hmm. I don't need you to nurture me so much anymore. I need you to let me fly. And I love the eagle's analogy. I don't know where I read this, but the eagle in its nest, the mother, she has her eaglets, right?
Right.
And in order for them to learn to fly, she has to kick them out of the nest, whether they can fly or not.
So scary.
So she kicks them out, and they go, whoo, and they start just falling. And if she sees that their wings aren't ready, she swoops under them, picks them back up, and puts them in the nest.
Oh.
I think that's a great analogy for parenting.
Yeah.
Kick them out of the nest, watch, be vigilant, see if they learn how to fly on their own. And if they can't, go swoop down, bring them back into the nest. They're not ready.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
That is awesome.
I love that analogy. I don't know where I read
So
that.
what kind of advice would you give to parents who are receiving that resistance from their teens when they try to continue to nurture and provide for them and
Pull back.
Stop. Ew.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
Pull back. Like, you guys take a step back. And, in working with teens, the sun's in my eyes, but working with teens, like when, you and I work with them, when I start feeling resistance, that's when I pull back and say, I know you're experiencing something. I'm going to give you space. Whew. She going to give me space? Adults are usually all up in my business, up in my grill, trying to get me to
Breathing
do
down
something.
my neck.
Yeah. They don't like that. So if they're giving me a lot of protest, fighting with me, I'm going to take a step back and pull away. I see that you need some time away from me. I need some time away from you, baby. That's the hardest thing to do as a parent or, a coach or a counselor. You can't really get into a power struggle with a teenager because what happens?
Oh, they will. I have seen this so many times. It's like they just turn off.
Yep.
They're there physically, but when they start looking around the room, scratching, fiddling, they'll pick something up, start looking at. They're like reading the tissue box. like, okay,
that's their weapon of
conversation
warfare. Yeah,
is over as of right now.
That's how they
We'll
play.
pick it back up later.
Exactly. Good point, Rachel. Yeah, I've had teenagers in here and, or working with teens, and when they start checking out, I'm like, they're done. They're done. They're done with the conversation, which I don't usually have that a lot, probably because I guess we're just trained in how to talk to them. And one thing I think is important, too, is when you're talking to your teenager, don't treat them like they don't know anything. And that they're dumb, and that they're not smart, and that they don't know anything, because that isn't true today. I mean, I don't think it was true back then either, back in the 1900s. But today, your child has more access to more information than you ever had growing up. I mean, they can Google anything and know anything, and YouTube and learn anything within a few seconds.
Yeah. And so when they ask a question or they want to know why, and you don't have an answer, or you say because I said so, or because I'm your mom, they're not used to, because they have an answer for everything on their phone. And they're like, what? That's not, no.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it anyway then, because you can't tell me why I shouldn't.
Exactly. Yeah, so sometimes what would be a good approach when, interacting with your teen might be to do what? I'm thinking of a way, but I wonder if you've thought of a way.
I'll ask them, well, why do you think that it wouldn't be a good idea to do that? How might you get in trouble or hurt if you did that?
Good. Yeah. So you're causing them to brainstorm, and you're not coming up with the solutions. You're allowing them to have the freedom and power to come up with a solution in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Another thing is, like, I just do this appreciative inquiry with my son. I just say, hey, can you share with me about that? Like, I don't understand this whole Snapchat, or could you tell Mom more about that thing you learned on YouTube? And and he'll tell me information. I'm like, how do you know? he knows, like, I don't know, random things about random places. And I don't know. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, how to do stuff. Like, they'll just look it up and they just memorize that stuff from YouTube. And then I'm just sitting there listening and I'm fascinated by what he knows.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm attuning. I'm looking at his eyeballs. I'm listening. And I'm in awe. And I look at him and I say, wow, you're so smart. Your mom doesn't know anything about this. And that does something to his psyche.
Yeah. So you're saying just, throughout the day, any day, you're just validating how much he knows, how smart he is.
Yeah. And when you see a kid, like in working with our troubled teens, when you see a kid do something right, what do you do?
Oh my goodness, thank you for putting that chair away. It was in the middle of the room and, someone left it there. Mm-hmm. That was really great of you to put that away when you didn't leave it there. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And they're all struck when you do that.
Make it a big deal when they do the right thing. Because they're used to being told, no, why did you do that? Quit it.
Yeah, why do you leave your trash out all over the place?
Yeah. Yeah.
What does that do? That shuts the brain off.
They get no all day.
Worst thing to say.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That was great.
Mm-hmm.
I love it when you clean your room.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. I like to share, with kids, some, good treats, some healthy dark chocolates and things. And so what happens is, if they're not used to picking up after themselves or whatever, and I notice they'll pick up the trash, oh my goodness, thank you guys for picking up after yourself and being really mindful of your trash. Their faces look at, and what I notice is every time I meet with them, they do a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, Linda noticed that I help the others pick up their stuff, and she noticed that I gave out pens. Oh, I want to help.
Yeah.
And you are shaping behavior. It's not manipulative. People want to say, well, that's you're just using positive reinforcement to get the right behavior. People like to feel appreciated.
Yeah.
Do you do more for...
When a stranger holds the door for me, I say, oh my goodness, thank you. I'm not trying to reinforce that stranger. I'm genuinely appreciative that they would hold the door for me. It's raining outside. I'm scurrying to get in the building. And this is why we're doing this to our teens. We want them to be that person that thinks about other people, not just themselves.
Yeah, not so narcissistic.
Right.
Self-motivated all the time.
Yeah. I even use words that they want to think of themselves as, like, oh, that was so mature and responsible for you to think about that other kid and help them out. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they're like, oh, I'm mature and responsible, yeah. And they'll keep doing that good thing.
Yeah, that's good, Rachel. That's really good. Yeah, and one thing I noticed when I was raising our boy, I read Dobson's Raising Boys, and I read Wild at Heart by John Eldridge.
Oh, okay.
Wild
I'll
at
have to
Heart.
put that one on my reading list.
It's a good one, and what I noticed is he always said when you're talking to kids, use those words. Man, that was bold and brave. You're so strong. And I know this is boy oriented because that's what I'm used to, working with boys.
Girls can be strong and bold too.
Yes, and if you have a teenage girl, tell her she's strong and she's confident and she can learn math, because now studies show there isn't a brain for math. It's just girls are told they can't do math. So you want to reinforce all positive, things for them to adopt into their psyche at a young age.
Mm-hmm. I think that we're good at doing that when they're really young, like kids. But then as they get older into the teenage years, we feel like, but they should be clean. They should know to keep their room clean. They should know they still need that positive reinforcement. They need to
Mentoring.
know that you notice when they do it right. Otherwise, they just feel like, I never get it right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only, when you only comment on what they do wrong, that sticks with them. Like, man, can't get anything right around here.
Yeah, you gotta be careful not to be a critical
Mm-hmm.
parent or a critical anything, because criticism shuts down the brain quicker than anything.
Yeah. And the teenage self-esteem is just so fragile.
Oh, so fragile. A pimple ruins their day.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Yes.
It's like
Yeah.
a nightmare for them.
So keep that in mind. You might say something that to you is, totally reasonable, but it's not what you say, it's how that teenager hears it. Does that make sense?
That makes good sense. Yeah. Yeah, it's how it lands on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with girls, you gotta be mindful what you say about their body,
Yes.
because that can destroy their self-image
Mm-hmm.
instantly. You don't want to look at a girl and say, "Oh, you're gaining some weight." That's not what you say to a teenage girl.
No.
You don't say that ever. I mean, you always want to focus on their talents, their gifts, and just shape that.
Yeah. So many kids, I think, because their self-esteem is so fragile, and because they're always told, don't do this, don't do that, do that this way instead, I think they feel like, man, everyone's trying to fix me, everyone's trying to change me, I'm not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
So
And when they don't feel good enough, what happens to their heart, their emotions? What comes up for them?
I think a lot of anxiety, depression, or anger, wanting to rebel.
Mm-hmm. So if I can't get it right for these people, I'm going to fight them.
Mm-hmm.
And if fighting looks like going to sad or self-harm, I'm going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Your kids need to know that they're getting something right.
Absolutely.
And that's not limitless. Let me keep this. People think that I'm saying no boundaries when I say love and validation and positive affirmation. No, you do want to focus on these things, but because they aren't future oriented, or their frontal lobe is not fully developed, they do need to know that there are limits. So I'm not allowing you to drink at age 14, okay? Right. It's not happening. There's no, I'm not going to promote smoking and doing drugs. That's not what we're talking about here.
That's not going to be one of those things like, oh, okay, well, you drink every night for 7 days and let's see where we're at. No. There are certain things
boundaries.
That are a hard no.
Hard boundaries. Yes. Those are rigid boundaries that these are things we don't do. There's no negotiation on these things, because safety is paramount, and you as a parent are responsible for their safety.
Right. But these are things that when they begin to reach the age where they're, other kids in school might be doing these things, that you want to sit them down and talk about it. Hey, getting older, that's cool, but
and I know, the topics of sex and drugs are very challenging for some people to talk about. Maybe when they were growing up, sex and drugs was just taboo. The parents didn't even talk about it. That's not true today. We'd be lying to ourselves to say that our teens aren't exposed to these things.
And the internet now.
Yeah.
If you don't talk with them about sex and drugs, they're going to learn about it from the internet. And you may or may not like what they learn.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want them to know what's right and wrong in your household and your family and your values and beliefs, the only way for them to know that is to hear it from you.
Yeah. Exactly. And there's safeguards for, like, the internet in your home. You can do those things, like block out anything that's rated R, mature, like Netflix. You can turn off rated R. I mean, there's just things that you got to safeguard for your kids. You don't want to, because when they get exposed to those things, you have to remember the underdeveloped brain that's exposed to things it's not ready for. It can hurt the brain. It gets etched in there.
Yeah.
And you got to be mindful of that as a parent. It's a hard job to be a parent today. It is so hard. So that, I just want to empathize with all of you out there raising kids today. It is tough. You are a rock star if your kid is doing well, and you've provided safety and comfort to them in today's society. It's tough.
Yes.
So, so we've covered quite a bit about listening to your teenager and how to approach them with that, where they're at developmentally. And what else would we like to share with our listeners today about teenagers? Is there anything else coming up for you?
I guess, sometimes it is, not sometimes, all the time. It's hard all the time.
It is.
And it's okay to ask for help. And, if you feel like you have a teen that might benefit from some counseling or therapy, Linda and I are here to help.
It's our specialty, really.
It doesn't mean that you've done something wrong or you weren't able to control them or no. Sometimes they just need to hear the same thing you're saying from somebody else that's not mom or dad.
Exactly. Counseling for teenagers is awesome because they come in here, it's confidential. Of course, if they are a risk to themselves or someone else or abuse is happening, of course we breach confidentiality for those things. But we let them know, other than that, you can come in here and really be honest and real about what you're experiencing, what you're feeling. You can protest your parent. Every teenager protests their parents. That doesn't mean you're a bad parent.
No.
They just don't like your limits.
Because they don't want any limits.
Yeah. I want to make sure parents know that when they come in here and they fuss about them, Rachel and I aren't going, oh, that's such a bad parent.
No.
Not at all. It's about your teenager having a open, honest conversation with a wiser, older other about what's happening for them. And like Rachel said, we can word things in a way that your teen might think, oh, okay, yeah, that is how I should do that. Because we make them feel like it's their idea. Because we've been trained in how to do that.
Yeah. And
it's a beautiful thing working with teens. And just remember when you were a teenager and how much zeal and excitement and fun and learning new things and how fun that was for you. And put yourself back in their seat and remember that time. It's hard because you're trying to get them to adult and grow up and leave the nest. But keep in mind where they're at emotionally, mentally, all those things.
And understand that even though you have been there, every generation is different. And they've got all this social media and everyone's watching them 24/7. So you can relate a little bit, but not 100%.
That's a good point. Because we could turn it off. Yeah. I mean, we didn't have an internet. We could just go home. I didn't have a cell phone. We didn't have social media. I didn't care what other people were doing. I was home. I was in my safe space, just chilling.
Yeah.
You could shut that part out. These kids today are inundated with Susie and Sally are at the mall and I didn't get invited. Or, hey, they went and played ball at the park and I didn't get invited. So they feel left out and abandoned and cut out all the time.
Yeah. Social
media is not good for the self-esteem of a youth.
No. I had like AOL, like a messaging, which would be like today's texting.
Right.
That's all. There wasn't pictures and videos and, looking up to a stranger that you've never met on YouTube and wanting to be just like that person. Like, it wasn't all of that going on. I wasn't comparing myself to people I didn't even know. I mean, it's a lot.
That is deep. Wow, that's like a whole other podcast about what
social media is doing to teenagers. Yeah.
Kids a lot. Yeah,
kids and teens.
We'll have to do that next time or sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else you think we could add to?
That's all I got for today.
Yeah, me too. I just want parents, counselors, coaches, teachers to know, it's hard working with teens. It's not an easy job, but just have a lot of self-love for yourself, because you ain't going to get it right with them all the time.
No, and that's okay. You're doing the best you can given your circumstances, and we love you for that.
Yeah. So we appreciate you joining us for True Vine Talks on Saturday, and if you guys want to come and see us, or you have a teenager that could use some counseling with us, give us a call, 304-545-0033, or Rachel's number,
304-991-4940.
All right, have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye.